Hey guys, how are you today? Quick rant before we dive into today's chaos. As some of you might have noticed, YouTube's algorithm has decided I'm not special anymore. Shocking, I know. So now if you don't like, comment, or do a little backflip in the algorithm's honor, this video might just vanish into the void, never to be seen again. Seriously though, even a hi or "this is wild" in the comments helps way more than you think. It tells YouTube, hey, people actually like this channel. Maybe don't hide it from everyone. That can really help push my videos out to a wider audience, not just to my subscribers. So if you enjoy these stories and want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Now grab a drink, get comfy, and enjoy the drama. You won't want to miss this one. A few days ago, my dad and my stepmom Lisa celebrated their second anniversary together. They had been married for 2 years, and before that, they had been in a relationship for 3 years. So far, for almost 5 years, I have had to tolerate her, and I, 16 female, really don't like her. Even though I have to spend only half of the month at my dad's place, because the other half, I'm with my mom. I still can't stand her, and the feelings are mutual. She and her 2 kids, Jeremy and Annie, 18 male and 15 female, don't like me much either. And all 3 of them have made it very clear. The only reason we put up with each other is because of my dad, and that's it. We are formal and civil with each other in front of him. But when he's not around, we try not to acknowledge each other's existence, and that works perfectly fine for me. But then recently at the anniversary party, Lisa started picking on me for no reason. And I guess she did not expect my dad to stand up for me or whatever, but he did, and that really backfired for her. The worst part was that she was doing this all in public, because a lot of people had come over for the celebration. I was there because of course my dad wanted me there. In general though, I had already been feeling quite uneasy. At one point, my dad started telling me to come into the family photo, so he could have won with everyone in it. But since it was with Lisa and her kids, I was kind of skeptical about getting a picture with all of them. So I tried to tell them that I was completely fine. And while that was happening, Lisa, being a little tipsy, said that I should join them so that they could have a picture of me with them, and they would caption it "the real family" and "the mistake from the past." And then she and her kids started laughing at her own mean and disrespectful joke, and everybody was just too stunned to say anything. I was about to start crying because it was such a horrible thing to say when my dad stood up for me. He just turned around and told her that if she did not apologize to me right then and there, then they were over, no questions asked. She seemed a bit surprised, but she probably thought that he was joking. So she said that it was just a little joke that she had made, and there was no need to be offended by it, so she was not going to say that she was sorry for it. And almost immediately, my dad announced that the party was over, even though dinner had not even been served yet. But anyway, it was clear that he was furious, and he told Lisa that since she had chosen not to apologize, they were done now. I think that's when the reality of the situation finally started sinking in, while the guests were leaving with their meal packets and staff, and everyone was staring at her. She started trying to apologize to my father, but he made it very clear to her that the one that she really needed to apologize to was me. And after she had already declined to do that once, now he was not going to forgive her until I did. So then he and I got into a car while she tried to defend herself, but even then, she did not apologize to me. He kept addressing him, but my dad ignored her, and we drove to the house in silence. Once he had come back home, he started packing a few things of his, and told me to gather my stuff as well. So I did. And even when Lisa and her kids showed up a couple of minutes later and tried to talk to him, he ignored them. And within a few minutes, we were back in the car and they were crying. But he did not care. He dropped me off at my mom's place and told me that he would be staying in a hotel for the next few days. Until then, he had not addressed the problem. But before dropping me off at my mom's, he apologized to me and said that he was sorry for everything, for putting me through so much and never realizing how much he was asking of me. He told me that he was really sorry for being selfish, and before I could see him cry, I left and he drove away. Since then, he and I have been in touch, and after school, I've been to see him in the hotel for a couple of days. I can see that he is miserable, but he has told me that until I forgive Lisa, he's not going to be speaking to her. She has reached out to me in the past couple of days a number of times to apologize, but honestly, I don't feel like forgiving her. The thing is, I know that if I decide not to forgive her, and if my dad decides to end the marriage with her, she and her kids are going to lose everything. The father of her kids passed away 13 years ago, and since then, she's been a single mother. She was able to quit her job and spend more time at home with her kids after she got married to my dad. But before that, she was always outside, and even though she has never been very kind to me, I can tell that life had been rough for her and the kids. I won't go into the details, but they struggled a lot. And I know that they will be losing everything even if they get alimony. So, I don't know, will I be an a-hole if I decide not to forgive my stepmom for calling me a mistake from the past, even though my dad might actually end his marriage with her for that? Not the a-hole. OP's stepmother publicly humiliated a child at her own anniversary party. That's not a joke. That's cruelty. She made a scene, got called out, and now she's facing the consequences of her own behavior. OP's dad did the right thing by standing up for OP and showing that he won't tolerate disrespect toward his daughter. OP should not feel pressured to forgive her just because she suddenly realized her life depends on OP's dad's forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't a ticket back into comfort. It's earned, not begged for. And now let's hear community's opinion. Honestly, your dad sounds like an amazing parent. He saw his kid being disrespected and immediately chose you over keeping the peace with his wife. That's rare. Lisa humiliated you in public and thought she could get away with it because she assumed your dad would prioritize her. She played stupid games and is now winning stupid prizes. Don't let guilt trick you into accepting her apology if you don't mean it. She didn't think of your feelings before opening her mouth. Lisa's joke was disgusting, and the fact that her own kids laughed along says a lot about the kind of environment she's created. The emotional damage she's done can't be undone by a few text messages and apologies when her comfort is at stake. Your dad setting boundaries is the healthiest thing he could have done for both of you. Keep your distance. You're not responsible for fixing a marriage that was built on disrespect. Not the a-hole. You're 16 and showing more emotional maturity than your stepmother. You didn't ruin her marriage. She did, the second she decided to publicly call you a mistake. If she's only apologizing now that her lifestyle is at risk, that's manipulation, not remorse. Stay polite, stay firm, and let your dad handle it. He's finally realizing what kind of woman she is, and it's not your job to make things easier for her. Update. Hey, thank you so much for all the helpful comments. I have decided to sit down and speak to my dad about what he really wants. Because you guys were right. It did seem very unlikely that his decision about his marriage would depend only on my forgiveness. There had to be something deeper, but then I was just thinking about my own guilt and stuff like that. So, I didn't exactly think about that part. But then after going through the comments, I did realize that there must be a bunch of other reasons as well. And this was probably the last straw. So I spoke to my father about it, and I asked him if that was the case, and he finally broke down and told me that I was right, that he had been fighting with Lisa for the past couple of months, and things had been very strained between the two of them. He told me that he had been trying to keep it all together, and I have to say he did a pretty good job of not letting the crack show in their marriage, because for the past couple of months, even though they have been fighting, when they were together, I did not see anything wrong. Or maybe I just missed it. But whatever it was, I had no idea that this was going on behind the scenes. Now, what they have been fighting about was something that my dad was not comfortable talking about initially. But then I insisted that he tell me, and he eventually did. So, the thing is, my dad has only put aside money for my college education, because naturally I am his biological daughter, and by the time he meets Jeremy and Annie, it's not exactly like they were babies. Jeremy was 13 and Annie was 10 years old, and it just did not occur to him to start saving for them as well. He explained to me that he was not just being heartless. He just believed that he was already supporting the three of them after the marriage. He thought that at least their college education would be something that they would take responsibility for by themselves. And I thought it was perfectly reasonable as well, because at the end of the day, he is not their biological father. For some reason, Lisa does not agree with any of this. A couple of months ago, she asked about the college education savings for her kids, and my dad had to tell her that he did not have any money put aside for them specifically. He told her that he had saved money for me, but he had figured that maybe Jeremy and Annie would be able to do something for themselves by the time they started college. Jeremy is taking a gap right now, but even then, Lisa started freaking out, and started calling him selfish and accusing him of only caring about me, but not about the rest of his family. He tried to tell her that he would help them out with loans and whatever they needed, but she insisted that whatever money he had put aside for my education, he should split it between the three of us. Now, my dad did not think that it was fair, because ultimately they were his stepkids, and he did not think that it would be fair to take that money away from me for them. So, that's what they had been fighting for so many months now. And then at the anniversary party, when she made that comment about me, that was the last straw for him. Because in the past, I had already complained about her behavior towards me several times to my father. And because he wanted to make his marriage with her work, he had told me to just ignore her, and he had even advised her to do the same. So that's why we had eventually ended up staying away from each other altogether. And that worked for me. But he told me that he knew that, even though I pretended that I did not care, it did obviously bother me that these people treated me like this for no reason. For so long, he said that he had been very selfish by trying to make his marriage work and prioritizing his relationship with his wife and steps over me. But at the anniversary party after that particular incident, he realized that he could not let this go on because Lisa had obviously started to believe that she could say whatever she wanted to and she could get away with it just because he loved her. He told me that he was not going to let her take advantage of him anymore. So now in his head, he was planning on ending this marriage anyway, regardless of my decision to forgive her or not. He told me that he had been feeling quite messed up for the past couple of months, and Lisa had been making life at home extremely difficult for him. But he couldn't even talk to anybody else about this, because this is so personal. In fact, he wouldn't even have told me about it if I hadn't pressed him to do so. And I'm glad that I did, because I know that my father is supposed to be strong for me, and he always has been. But I think it's about time that he felt like he could have somebody to share his problems with as well. I told him that I was very grateful that he had decided to take a stand for me, and for himself as well, because ultimately it is his money. And whatever he decides to do with this is what should be accepted, and he does not need to feel guilty about not sharing that fund with my step-siblings. Especially because it was not his responsibility, to be honest. If she had been completely helpless without any money of her own, then I might have had a different opinion. But my father and I know for a fact that she has savings of her own put aside that she hasn't touched after she started dating my father, because he took over most of the expenses. The decision to quit her job had been her own. That was not something she had discussed with my father. By the time she told my dad, she had already put in her resignation and had announced that she wanted to spend more time with her kids because she had spent the better part of her life working away to make sure that they had enough. And now, since she was married and did not have to worry about money anymore, she wanted to be a psalm for a while. She hadn't asked my father about any of this. She had just decided it and gone through with it. And at the time, my dad did not want to stir up any trouble, so he agreed with it without a word. And back then, he had no idea that in the future things would come to this anyway, so he didn't have a problem with it. But now he has told me that he regrets not talking it out with her, because now for some reason, Lisa feels like the entire financial responsibility of everything in her life has to be on him, which just doesn't seem fair, especially when these are not his kids. And the college fund is something that is so optional. My dad could choose not to use that money for my college education as well, and I would have to be fine with it. It's not like anybody's entitled to that kind of money. Lisa isn't, neither are her kids, and nor am I. It's completely my father's choice who he wants to send to college with that money. And if it is me, she should be okay with that, because I'm literally his biological daughter. If she wants to send her kids to college, she should use her own savings instead of skimping out on it and trying to force my dad into something he doesn't want to do. Anyway, while my dad and I were discussing this, I basically just validated his decision, and I told him that he should go ahead with what his gut says. If he wants to sort things out with Lisa, then he should talk to her. And as much as I don't like her, I obviously do want my dad to be happy. And I know that he's been miserable without her for the last couple of days. So I told him to talk to her if he wants to give her one last chance and see where it goes. But if he has made up his mind that he wants to end this marriage and he cannot stay with her anymore, then he should talk to a lawyer. After we had our discussion, he told me that he was really thankful that I had decided to talk to him about this and get to the bottom of it, because otherwise he would have still remained extremely confused. He told me that he needs some time to think about it. And in the past couple of days, Lisa has reached out to him several times to talk to him, but he has been ignoring her. However, he thinks that it's finally time to stop giving her the silent treatment, because if he wants a solution to this problem, he's going to have to talk to her eventually. Once again, he apologized to me for not doing what should have been done in the past, and pretending that everything was fine between me and his new family, when it was actually not, and he should have addressed the problem. But I told him not to worry about it, because I knew that he tried his best to have the right balance, and he's only human. At least he did his best, and that's all that matters to me. As for Lisa and her kids, they had already decided that they were not going to me. So even if I had been the nicest, sweetest girl on earth, they still would not have lied to me and would have found an excuse to treat me badly. I guess it was some sort of insecurity or something. But whatever it was, my dad could not have sorted it out any better than he did. At least he got them to stay out of my way. And in the end, I did want him to be happy. So, I guess all of us made some compromises, but I did not blame him for that. Anyway, all that aside, he has told me that he's going to sort the whole situation out on his own, and I don't need to worry about it. And I don't need to respond to Lisa either, because that's not my problem to deal with. Which was a relief because I was getting seriously worried about talking to her since she had been bombarding me with messages and apologies for the past couple of days. I had been ignoring her, and she had been getting more desperate. It was making me feel very uncomfortable because it was quite sad, and after speaking to my dad, I have decided that I'm going to mute her. So yeah, that's what happened, and I'm glad that I decided to talk to my dad about it. I got to learn a lot of things, and now I'm not worrying about anything too much. Whatever has to happen, he'll sort it out. I'm sure of it. Update 2. Hi. So, it's been 2 weeks since my last update. My life pretty much went back to normal after that last discussion that I had with my father that I spoke about here. I muted Lisa so I did not have to see her messages anymore, and after that I pretty much forgot about it. My dad stayed in the hotel for about 3 to 4 days after our discussion, but then eventually he went back home. He's a private person in general, and then on top of that, since these are such personal problems, I have had to keep insisting that he needs to share things with me, because I am his daughter, and I don't want to see him upset. Even though in the beginning he was kind of laughing it off. Eventually he realized that I was being serious, and I didn't want him to tell me what was going on with Lisa and my step-siblings, no matter how hard it is. And I know that there is a whole parentified daughter thing, but in all honesty, I'm just worried for my dad. He and my mother after the divorce stopped talking unless it had anything to do with me. They are cordial with each other, but that's about it. And he's not very close with his parents either, nor does he spend a lot of time with his friends. He has always been this way, quite introverted and stuff. But after the recent discussion that I had with him, I started to realize that he hardly had anybody to discuss his problems with. He was constantly dealing with stuff on his own. And I felt bad about it, because even I had never bothered to think about what he must be going through. I'm not 18 yet. I don't think that I'm going to understand all his problems. And I definitely don't think that I can solve it. But I think that if he can just talk to me about it, that might help him a little at least. He was obviously unwilling to do so because I'm his daughter, and he wants to put up a strong front for me, and he doesn't want to burden me with his problems as well, and make me his emotional dumping ground. This is what he said, but I told him that it's not about that. It's just that I worry for him, and I would like my father to be happy. So then he promised me that he would talk to me about whatever happened with Lisa. But I had to promise him that I would not overthink anything since I do have a tendency to do that. That was our deal, and he has held up his end of it. He has kept me in the loop about whatever has been going on with Lisa. And so far, it unfortunately doesn't seem to be going too well with her. It's not like we are talking about her every day or whatever, but in the past 2 weeks, whenever anything significant has happened, my dad has told me about it. So I do have limited information, but from what I have gathered, since my father has come back home, Lisa has started going back to her old ways. He had come back home with the intention of sorting this out with her and trying to find a resolution that would be good for both of them. But that has been proving to be practically impossible because she refuses to come to a solution. She has stopped dissing me, thankfully, but that doesn't mean that she has given up on what she wants. Even now, she has continued to tell my father that he absolutely has to split that college fund 3 ways because otherwise there is no solution for this problem. He has brought up the fact that she has her own savings and can afford to send her own kids to college if she wants to, but she says that it's for her retirement. It has been pretty exasperating. I can tell that from my father's tone whenever he has been talking about this with me. She has even gone out of her way to bring up the fact that I have a mom, but her kids only have her. And it's true, but the thing is that my mother doesn't make as much money as my father does. So in theory, she can definitely try to contribute, but it'll make things very difficult for her. And during the divorce, she hadn't taken a single penny from my dad and had refused alimony as well. So he wants to honor that by taking up the responsibility for my education financially. Besides, when I was younger, it was mostly my mom who was doing all the work at home and taking care of me since my dad used to be a little too exhausted after work. So she's already done a lot for me, and my dad knows that. He also knows that if she is asked to contribute towards my college education, she's never going to say no, but it's just going to make situations tough for her financially, and he doesn't want to put her in that spot. I think that's perfectly reasonable. And he has even explained that to Lisa, but she doesn't seem to care about it, since she can't say anything about me. She has started playing this card now, saying that my father does not care about her, but he seems to care a lot about his ex, so maybe he hasn't even moved on. I don't know how my dad is dealing with all of this. It's pretty frustrating, and the fact that he doesn't even tell me half of it, it just makes me realize how difficult things must have been for the past couple of months for him. Anyway, now that I know about what has been going on, I just hope that things are sorted out soon. If that means that my father has to end his marriage with Lisa, then so be it. Because I know that they have been happily together for quite a while. But right now, given the way she has been behaving with him, I don't think it's justified in any way whatsoever. She's been completely selfish, but that's hardly a surprise to me given how she has behaved with me in the past. If I'm being honest, I don't think that she even likes my father as much as he loves her. It's just a gut instinct. I might be wrong, but that's how I feel about it. I have never said it out loud because I did not want it to become a reality. But now I have started to think that maybe I was right all along. Maybe Lisa married my dad not because she loved him, but only because he could provide for her, and that's the bitter truth. He might know it already, but of course I'm never going to say this to him, because this will break him. But I think anybody in their right mind who knows what has been happening with my dad and Lisa will come to the same conclusion. It's pretty sad, because I know that he really loves her. He has done so much for her, and now this is how she is choosing to repay him. I don't think she even realizes that she is risking her entire marriage with him just for this one thing. I don't even understand why she is so bent on this one topic, because it's not as if her kids will not be able to go to college if my dad does not fund it. They can take out loans, so I don't understand what the big deal is. Lots of people do it, and as far as I know, neither of them are terrible students. In fact, they are pretty good, so they might even get scholarships. I don't understand how that is not enough for her, and why she is fighting with him so hard on this. She is just digging herself into a deeper hole than she was in. That's all. It's just sad to be very honest, but I don't think the situation can be helped. Update 3. So, it's been 6 days since my last update, and today my dad called me up and told me that he just had a huge fight with Lisa, and now he has decided that he's going to file for a divorce. He has told me that for the next couple of days, he's going to be staying with a friend, so I won't be able to stay with him. But he will make it up to me next month, because by then he hopes to have found an apartment. He could easily have evicted Lisa and her kids, but then they would have nowhere else to go. So he's letting them stay in the house, and he's planning on renting an apartment until the whole thing blows over. But he sounded pretty sure on the phone, and I think he's going to go through with the divorce now. I'm sad that I did not work out for him. But in a way, I'm also relieved that he can finally put this behind himself now, because for the past couple of days, he had been sounding increasingly stressed out every time I called him. And now, I think for a while, things will be difficult for him. But the divorce and everything. But eventually it's for the best in the long run. I'll let you guys know what happens later. Update 4. So, it's been a month since my last update, and my dad and Lisa are well into the divorce proceedings now. But he thinks that it'll be resolved quickly. He has a great attorney by his side, and the demands that Lisa have made are surprisingly fair enough. She's going to vacate the house after the divorce is over, and until then, She's going to look for a place. So, my dad is staying in a rented apartment. Until then, it's pretty cozy. As for the alimony, her demand has been reasonable enough, but I don't think it has anything to do with her being nice or anything. I think she's just trying to save as much money as she can on lawyers, and she knows that if she makes any sort of crazy demand, that's going to drag out the whole process, and she doesn't want to make it more expensive than it has to be. And my dad agrees, because so far in real life, she has been nothing but hostile towards him. It doesn't matter though, he seems to be doing well, and even though he is upset about what has been happening, it's unavoidable, so he has accepted it. I just hope that now he can finally be happy and doesn't have to deal with more trouble.